كتابه وكفرنا بكل طواغيت على الأرض فمن يكفر بالطاغوت ويؤمن بالله فقد استمسك بالعروة الوثقى لا انفصام لها والله السميع العليم. وأما بعد، قال حق تبارك وتعالى في القرآن المجيد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس قدمت لغد واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. All praise and glory be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. We praise and we glorify His holy name without associating any partners with Him in any way, shape, or form. We ask His forgiveness for our shortcomings and our mistakes. We ask His guidance in all matters. We bear witness to His oneness and unity, and we bear witness to the prophethood of Muhammad bin Abdullah alayhi salatu wassalam. May the choices of peace and salutations be upon him, his purified family, his righteous companions, and all those who follow in his footsteps until the day of judgment. As to that which follows, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructs us in the Holy Quran. O you who believe, have taqwa in Allah, be conscious of Allah, and let each and every one of you look to what you have sent forth for your tomorrow. Gadan. And in this process, as you look to, you think about, you analyze, and you prepare for your tomorrows, be conscious of Allah. Subhanahu wa ta'ala is aware of all things and all that you do. My dear beloved brothers and sisters, members of the board of this wonderful institution, I'm coming from New Jersey this morning. Pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you to multiply the blessings of each and every one who has put their time and their effort over the years to begin this institution and to continue to help to support it so that it will remain a beacon of light in this part of the world. And for all of the people of this land we call home, America, until the day of judgment. Allow me to share some brief reflections with you. And I'm thankful for the invitation to be with you all. Jersey is very cold. And here I find not only the warmth of the sun, but also find the warmth of Iman. In Jersey, we have the coolness of yaqeen, which has to be always balanced with the warmth and the light of Iman. And between the two, inshallah, both ends, the East Coast and the West Coast of the United States, can provide harmony and balance, al-mizan, which is what the Muslim Ummah is all about. And the idea of a common ground, a central ground, for we are designated uniquely amongst all the faith communities who came to this earth before us, guided by their prophets and messengers, of which we know there is, according to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, over 127,000 or 26,000 that have come. During the course of human history, from the time of our mutual grandfather and grandmother, Adam and Hawa, until the seal, Khatam al-Anbiya wal Mursaleen, of Muhammad bin Abdullah ﷺ, the seal of the prophets and messengers. Alhamdulillah, we find ourselves in the last few days of this excellent month of Rajab. And although I know many of our imams and our scholars and many of you have made the dua for the blessings of Rajab, we emulate and we say that even we have a few days left of the month of Rajab. Allahumma barik lana fi Rajab wa baligna Ramadan. For nothing is guaranteed that Allah will allow us to witness Ramadan. So may Allah continue to bless us in these last remaining days of the month of Rajab, and allow us to live to the month of Ramadan, where we may participate fully as a community as we do in previous years. But this year we know that some will not be joining us who were with us last year. We might be able to know their names, their faces amongst friends and family in our communities. May Allah grant them Jannatul Firdaus and allow us to complete the month of Ramadan and getting all of the blessings and the forgiveness that is promised for those who do the right thing in various ways during the month of Ramadan. The month of Rajab is very interesting in our tradition, as the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ loved this month more than any other month. Now we have many great months in our Islamic calendar. We have the months of Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, Muharram, and Rajab, which the Quran refers to. Allah refers to in the Quran as Ushhur al-Hurum, the sacred months. The months of tremendous blessing in which the good deeds are amplified in terms of their reward. And conversely, the bad deeds are amplified in terms of their punishment. It is the months of the Hajj, and historically Rajab was the month of Umrah, although with our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ's coming, he allowed Umrah throughout the rest of the year. But before him, Rajab was the month of Umrah, dating back to the time of Sayyidina Ibrahim ﷺ. So dear brothers and sisters, this month of Rajab, given the months of the Hajj, which I just mentioned, and the month of Umrah, and of course the holy month of Ramadan, Shahrul Quran wa Shahrul Siyam, the month of both fasting and the revelation of the Quran, Shahrul Laylatul Qadr, the month of the night of power, which is better than 1,000 months. Why was this month the Prophet's beloved month that he loved the most? And he manifested that love, as our mother Aisha radiallahu anha said, because, as she observed, and she's our mother, she's a mother of the believers along with all of his wives, a special category of Sahaba. And she said, I never observed the Prophet ﷺ fasting more in any month of the year outside of Ramadan, where he fasted the whole month, as he did the month of Rajab. And we must bring to mind that in our religious teachings, unlike the teachings of others, the act of worship of Siyam, of fasting, is a celebratory act. It is a way in which somebody, Jazakallah khairan, month of Sha'ban. Okay, Jazakallah khairan. Thank you for the reminder. The month of Sha'ban, excuse me, jet lag, Jazakallah khairan. The month of Sha'ban, he said, because it falls between the great months of Rajab and Ramadan. And so the month of Sha'ban was a month, he said, people neglect. They are ghafla. They're heedless of. They're forgetful of. And our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was the person who always looked and always sought out those who were neglected and forgotten, left out and left behind, left back, not part of those who enjoyed the blessings and benefits of society and the various structures of social classes which unfortunately societies are organized along, often for wrong reasons. And so he championed those causes which were the neglected causes, the forgotten causes, and those people who were neglected and forgotten. Orientalists have observed those who study Islam not so that they may understand it and explain it to others, even in an academic sense, so that they may find fault with it and dismissed and dissolve, for those of us who are involved in academia, dissolve and undermine its legitimacy and its being a valid way of life in the world. They mock Islam by saying that the Prophet was the leader of people that for the most part were the poor, the neglected, the forgotten, the underlings of society, with the exception of a few, like his wife, Khadija radiallahu anha, the master businesswoman of Mecca, and Abu Bakr, and Umar, and Uthman. But these are a few. The majority of the Sahaba, both male and female, belong to the underclass of society. But it was from that underclass of society that others looked on as being lesser than, not quite the same as. In short, in our simple understanding of our daily lives, the people whom, unfortunately, Many of us, when someone amongst those type of people comes to ask for our daughter's hand in marriage, we'll say no, even though that they're Muslim. I wonder how many of us, if Bilal al-Habashi knocked at our door and asked for a hand in marriage, and his claim to fame was that he used to be an enslaved person, and he didn't really have a vocation, a job, would have said, take my daughter in marriage. Today falls upon the day when a son of Africa was assassinated and was made shuhada in the United States of America. February 21st was a day in which Al-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz, a shaheed, was martyred. One cannot speak of civil rights in America and human rights in the world without mentioning his name. A person who was imprisoned and looked at as being amongst those who are neglected, forgotten, the downtrodden, formerly incarcerated criminal, but who rose up because of the teachings of Islam and the guidance of Allah to become a beacon of light, liberation, and hope for all of humanity, not just America. And without the two giants of MLK and Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, Al-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz, the benefits that we have here in America and those who worked with them, the benefits that we have in America and the blessings we have would not be our own. We would still be going to places where I'm looking at the faces of my brothers and sisters here, all shining with light. But in America's racially stratified society, most of you are considered to be peoples of color. You would not be able, no matter how much money you think you have, to live in the zip code that you are living in now. You would not, no matter how much you think you've achieved in terms of, and you have achieved much against great odds, in terms of academic achievements and scholarship and professionalism, you would not be able to sit down in the restaurant of your choice for dinner with the family to celebrate some occasion together. This was not centuries ago. This was within the lifetime of many of us. Dear respected brothers and sisters, Ramadan, which is on the horizon, is a time where we must take into consideration all of these aspects of the ibadat, increased worship, which we're going to engage in. But we cannot wait until Ramadan to begin that. In fact, according to the Prophet's accounting from his own mouth, if we're not already have successfully planned and put in most of the plans for our Ramadan, and the various activities which we will do during Ramadan, we're already late. But it's never too late. For the dua that he made that I quoted from in reference actually begins with the month of Rajab. Allahumma barik lana fi Rajab wa Sha'ban wa baligna Ramadan. The Prophet ﷺ taught us in the month of Rajab, he was thinking about Ramadan 2 months in advance. And he started thinking and planning for that time of Ramadan. So here we are in the latter part of Sha'ban. If we have not yet planned, not only who we're going to worship with, where we're going to complete our time, what type of daily schedule we're going to have for connecting to the gift of Ramadan, which is the Quran, the words of Allah to each and every one of us, and put a schedule in place and put a family plan in place. We need to do so now. The ayah which I quoted speaks about Muslims and characterizes in a way which others would not like us to be characterized. As people who are of tomorrow, not of yesterday. Often the criticism we have at the university and in other areas, including in the think tanks in Washington, is that Muslims are stuck in a time warp. We're 1400 years ago. We're stuck in the past that is no longer relevant to the present. And sometimes this is even coming from the mouths of people who have Muslim names, who've adopted these talking points. We as Muslims, make no mistake, are proud of the legacy of Islam. And we are proud of the foundation of our faith. And we know that our Prophet Muhammad والسلام, who was sent as a rahmatan al-alameen, as a mercy to all the worlds, was khuluqun adim, was the best of creation for all peoples, all times, and all places. And we know, according to our tradition, that those who studied with him were in his presence and learned from him directly. The Sahaba were the best of generations. And then those who studied with them, the Tabi'i, the best of generations after that. And the Tabi'i, those who studied with the students who studied with the Sahaba, the best of generations after them. And the rest of us compete for the next spots as a generation, as a collective after that. But we are also reminded and instructed by his example in his life, but also by the Quran, to look to what we've sent for our tomorrows. Our tomorrows do not end with what is promised to every life: death. Our tomorrows encompass death, the life of the grave, and the life hereafter. We are really the long-term planners if we plan properly. If we plan properly. Ramadan provides us the opportunity to do so. It provides us the opportunity to prepare for a blessed guest, as some of our teachers and scholars have referred to it as. Man kana yu'min billahi wal yawmil akhir falyukram dayfa. Whosoever believes in Allah and the last day, let them honor their guest. The guest of Ramadan provides us the opportunity to give proof to our preparation for the future. Now think about that for a moment. You have a family relative, an elder, an uncle, aunt, someone who's going to come to visit with you. And not spend a day or a night, they're traveling from a faraway place, but spend an entire month with you. What do you begin to do in the home, in the household, to get ready? Clean up, set up the furniture, make sure that the guest room is prepared, talk up what we're going to do to keep the person occupied and keep them happy during this month, because they'll be with us for an entire month. Have we made similar plans with regard to the guest of Ramadan? A guest which is going to bring the most precious gift of all to us, and has brought the most precious gift to all of the Ummah Muhammad ﷺ for over 1400 years. The Holy Quran. Hudan lin-nas, guidance for humanity. Ramadan will deliver that book at our front door. And when we welcome Ramadan in, what will we do with that gift? Well, if we read this verse, one of the things we need to do with that gift is to prepare for our futures. And our future is going to be Ramadan. How will we treat our guest? Will our guests feel welcome, for that guest will stay with us 24/7 in our families? Accompany us as we eat, as we sleep, as we wake, as we work, and as we engage in other activities that are unique to Ramadan, like an entire month of fasting. What did we prepare to benefit most the guest, so that at the end of that day, at the end of that month, as we celebrate, may Allah give us life till Eid al-Fitr, that Ramadan will stand with us and make Shifa'an, as mentioned in the hadith, stand with us along with the Quran and say, "Oh Allah, this your worshipper, welcome me into their home. Their home was a place of peace and of justice, of your remembrance of the words of the Holy Quran, but acting upon those words when it came to those issues outside that were wrong and unjust. Continue to speak truth. Continue to speak up for those who were neglected and left behind." They thanked me, Allah, and they thanked you, Allah, for the blessings of food. Food which we can eat at the end of the day, when many of our brothers and sisters don't have anything to eat throughout the world. Prevented, like the Rohingya community in Myanmar, Burma. that are being subjected to genocide as we speak, a continuing genocide since 2012, resulting in over 1.2 million living in squalid conditions in neighboring Bangladesh. And we thank Bangladesh people for welcoming them in. Who would welcome 1.2 million people into their homes? We have 28 Arabic-speaking nations. No one's talking about welcoming anybody into their home from Gaza. Not that the people of Gaza want to leave. May Allah give them what they deserve, which is return to their homes in their ancestral homeland. 75 years is way too long to be displaced from one's homes, not just once, but multiple times. But what about their situation? Squalid conditions, challenged with the ability to share a simple food of iftar. Iftar is one of the blessings of Ramadan because it allows us in Allah's mathematics, divine mathematics, to take from those who we provide iftar to their entire fast and all of the acts of worship with it. It allows us to take it. And guess what? As you know, they don't lose a single piece of that fast and that worship themselves. So you feed 30 people, you gained 30 fasts. But what is it that you need to feed them? It's wonderful that we have iftari parties and we should invite people to them. We should invite friends to them, and we should invite somebody to them who will talk to us about the ummah that doesn't have and remind us of our responsibilities to them. But it is, as the scholars say, the first bite, the first sip of water that allows that mechanism of transferring the fast from someone to another person without the original person losing it in the least. So whether you serve a 7-course meal or like the Rohingya, only able to serve a small piece of meat or fish for a family of 10 to 15 living in a 10 by 10 space made out of bamboo and plastic, you receive the same reward. Or the food that we eat is halal and blessed. Unlike our Uyghur brothers and sisters in East Turkestan, what the Chinese Communist Party calls Xinjiang province, where over 3 million of the 20 million plus Uyghurs that are there are in concentration prison camps, slave labor camps, of which maybe some of us are benefiting from unknowingly. So if you buy Shine products, you're one of those contributing to this, to the pain and the agony and the slave labor of your brothers and sisters. What about them? What about the fact that when it comes time for suhoor, 20 million people, just think about that. Somebody would come knocking at your door at the time of suhoor, and you have to open it. And who is that person? Someone from the Chinese Communist Party, who are now made to be in your neighbors. And they say, what are you doing this early in the morning? You say, I'm just getting up, because you know that they're there to interrogate you. I just got up. That's fine, because they monitor the electricity into your house. They monitor the gas flow in your house using AI. So they know when it spikes, they're knocking. They say, no problem. We're going to sit with you. Till when? Till the sun rises. And then we're going to share a cup of tea. I don't want to drink tea. I'm not feeling well. You will drink tea or you will be in prison. What's that I heard your son or daughter say to you just now? Assalamu alaikum. Arrestable offense. We don't speak that language in China. I'm not in China. What's this rug you have on the ground? It says made in China, and they sell it in Saudi Arabia, but don't you dare have it in your house in Xinjiang province. Arrestable offense. And when it comes time for eating during the day, especially those who are incarcerated, pork is a regular part of your meal. You have to eat it. You don't have a choice to say no. So as we think about the blessings that Allah has given us during the month of Ramadan, and we actualize sharing iftar, reading Quran, waking up for ibadah, and we plan for it, let us think what we're going to be doing with that gift of the Quran that Ramadan has brought when it says, Kunu qawamina bil qist. Stand up for those who are treated unjustly. My dear brothers and sisters, inshallah tomorrow there will be a program here in MCA, and we're thankful for MCA for hosting it, of training our young people to be able to speak truth to power, to be able to know how to organize in community organizing. Because unless we speak politically in today's world, we don't speak at all. And our young people are the ambassadors to the future. We need to train them well. So I encourage you to join the program. If you have not, you can sign up, especially the young people. Justice for All, it's going to be here in the center. Please do join us, and we'll learn how to advocate for the issues of those who have been neglected and forgotten. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا هدانا الله وأما بعد. My dear respected brothers and sisters, before we go into the dua, let us remember what Ramadan will provide us in terms of a reward. Men sama Ramadan, our alayhi salatu wasalam said, Imanan wa ihtisaban, ghufira lahu ma taqaddam min dhanbi. Whosoever fasts the month of Ramadan in its entirety with sincere faith and a sense of personal accountability will have their sins forgiven. Will have their sins forgiven. We need forgiveness of our sins. In another narration, who prays the entire month of Ramadan in Qiyam Ramadan or Tarawih prayer will have their sins forgiven. And whoever fasts, whoever engages in Laylatul Qadr, in the search for Laylatul Qadr in the last 10 days, will have their sins forgiven. We want our sins to be given, but it is conditional. Iman wa ihtisab. What's Iman? I'm a believer. We're believers. What is the strength of our belief and the power of our belief? A question we need to answer. But we have a shorthand way of getting to the answer. Because the Prophet mentioned Sadaqah Burhan al-Iman. Sadaqah is an evidence of our faith. We can look to our credit card statements, to our bank slips and deposit slips, and see where did our money go over the last year. Break it down into categories. How much was spent on you, yourself, your family, to live, luxuries, etc., etc. And how much was spent clearly in ways that benefit the Ummah of Muhammad. We have 8 categories of zakat. Do we spend in all 8 categories? And I'm challenging the leadership of the masjid to think about that. Fuqara and Masakin are 2 of them. What about Ibn Sabiya? What about the rights of refugees? What about the riqab? What about the freeing of prisoners? Do you know Imam Qurtubi said, if the entire money of the ummah in Baytul Mal was set to free 1 prisoner, it would be justified. What have we done with the zakat distributions to ensure that people like Al-Hajj Malika Shabazz and others who are in prison in the Uyghur camps and in the Rohingya community and in Kashmir and in Philistine are free? Do you not see the joy and the tears of joy and love that come from our brothers in Palestine? When a single one is free, it is victory for the entire ummah. It is a non-negotiable point for our brothers and sisters there to free the prisoners. Food is okay. Shelter is okay, but free the prisoner. We will not compromise on that. We need to make sure that our financial testimony about who we are, our financial report card, is in sync with our obligations and self-accountability of ourselves, of our families, and our communities. Before accounting is done for us, we cannot hide from the fact that we are under the microscope and we need to join together with others to build coalitions, and that's one of the things that the training is about tomorrow. Let us now pray. Bow our heads and open our heads and hearts in prayer. Ya Rabbana lakal hamd kama yanbaghi li jalali wajhika wa adhim sultanik. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنا من الظالمين رب اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه اللهم ارزقنا حبك وحب رسولك وحب من ينفعنا حبك إليك ربي فحببنا وفي أنفسنا لك ربي فذللنا وفي عيون الناس فعدلنا من سيء الأخلاق فجنبنا ومن صالح الأخلاق فقومنا وعلى صراط مستقيم فثبتنا وعلى أعدائك أعداء الإسلام اللهم انصرنا ولا تنصر علينا. اللهم امكر لنا ولا نمكر علينا. اللهم زدنا ولا تنكسنا ولا تسلط علينا من لا يرحمنا. اللهم اشرح صدورنا للإسلام. اللهم حبب إلينا الإيمان وزينه في قلوبنا وكره إلينا الكفر والفسوق والعصيان. اللهم اجعلنا من الراشدين. اللهم اجعلنا من الصابرين. اللهم اجعلنا من المتقين. اللهم ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. ربنا فاغفر لنا ولإخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم. اللهم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا اغفر لنا ولوالدينا وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب. وصلي على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. وأقيموا الصلاة إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر. I understand there's a janazah after the salah, so please stay to honor your brother and sister if you're able.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول